Okay. Hello, dear students. My name is Andriy Semenets. I am Associated Professor of Medical Informatics Department, and today I will present for you second lecture of Medical Informatics and Biostatistics course, which dedicated to introduction of medical images and their analysis and processing. Topic very broad and contain a lot of aspects, so actually it will be possible to provide some basics only within this period. Okay, three major questions I will try to present. This will be about what is imaging in place of imaging in medical science. Then I try to get some short recap about principles of medical image acquisition analysis, image acquisition, and then introduce also question regarding analysis and processing and some thematical and theoretical background of this process. And finally, we'll talk again back closely to information technology implementation on picture hearing communication system and imaging standards like DICOM implementation of. So now let's go to the first question of lecture. When we talk about usage of imaging in medical science, we must be clearly aware that it's multidisciplinary field area, and also need to provide brief overview of approach for medical image and image analysis within medical science, kind of information or modalities we can retrieve by medical imaging, and type of information. So let's introduce what is imaging and place of imaging et al. Under healthcare and medicine. So imaging is an essential aspect of medical science for visualization of anatomical structures and functional or metabolic information of the human body. So for hundreds of years it was based on different painting and drawing and so on. And structural and functional imaging of human body is important for understanding anatomy, physiological process, function of organs, behavior of whole or part of organs under influence of abnormal physiological condition or diseases. And within last century, starting from end of 19th century through 20, and within this 20 years of 21st century, development of imagery instruments has inspired evolution of new computerized image reconstruction, processing, and analysis methods for better understanding and interpretation of medical image. And recently, intelligent model-based quantitative image analysis approach have been explored for computer-aided diagnosis to improve essentially and sensitivity and especially and specificity of radiological test involving medical images. So, as I mentioned before, medical imaging is a multidisciplinary field, and it's in diagnostic radiology has evolved as a result of significant contribution of a number of different disciplines from basic science, engineering, and medicine, so physics, statistics, mathematics, and so on. So a number of computer vision methods have been developed for varied application in image processing, segmentation, analysis, reconstruction. However, computerized image reconstruction, processing, and analysis methods have been developed for medical image application, require specialized knowledge for specific medical imaging modalities that's used in acquisition of image. And we need set of application domain knowledge that is used in developing models for accurate analysis and interpretation. As example, so we can present any so diagram which show for us medical images as multidisciplinary area. So every time when we start to analyze, make decision about what happens with this patient, and we want to apply medical image processes, starting from current understanding of physiology, anatomy, and so on, and condition of human body, and then if you want to perform acquisition of image, specific physical principles of image acquisition must be used, as it we use like optical lights, X-ray, ultrasound, or gamma radiation, so physical principles. Then basic on these physical achievements need to be developed instruments which can interact with this specific physical effects and turn that changes of physical fields into some sensitive information, mostly in form of electrical signals or so. Then, if we have perform image acquisition and we then have information about our some content in form of electrical signals, it could be digitized with modern time, with modern digital computers, and then for us we got ability to apply specific computer processing analysis models. And then based on this, we can provide some services for patient, create a treatment plan, apply it. So, and cycle will be repeated again because we got new understanding, improved understanding of physiology and current states. And again, we can consider some usage of specific other physical principles of imaging to retrieve better represent more images, more content from this patient about this particular case, and so on, and the cycle will be repeated again and again. Okay, it's a bit better right now. So in radiological science, in the last not only 3, but I would maybe extend period to 4 or 5 decades, have I witnessed revolutionary progress in medical imaging and computerized medical image processing. And what is advances in multidimensional imaging modalities? It's retrieve images by using X-ray effects for mammography, computer tomography, actual conventional axial tomography, or multiply modern approach like 3-dimensional visualization from computer tomography. Also, nuclear medicine introduced with single proton and positron emission tomography. Modern ultrasound system provide up to dynamical image processing, and magnetic and functional magnetic resonance images have ability to retrieve significant physiological information from patient. So objectives of medical image is to acquire useful information about the physiological process or organs of the human body using external internal sources energy. So there we come to classification by modalities of what kind of information we can retrieve with the support of specific energy source in this case. So internal usage within nuclear medicine, in general, like single proton emission tomography or positron emission tomography. External information, external energy useful in case when anatomical imaging based on the attenuation coefficient of radiation passed to human body, and better example is usage of X-ray radiography and various computer tomography methods, and combination of different energy source, for example, useful for MRI magnetic resonance images when use external magnetic energy to stimulate selected atomic nuclei. So it's more better displayed with the following chart when we have listed several methods which rely only on external, internal, or combination of both external and internal energy. It's even provided more than I shown before. For external, we use all kinds of radiography as well as ultrasound. For combination external internal, in addition to MRI, we can add the like impedance imaging or fluorescence imaging or even other. So one approach for imaging modalities, one approach for classification and usage of energy source. Let's if we move on into electromagnetic spectrum, which must be observed, registered, and converted into visual light to be visualized for physician. So we got at least 3 other modalities or 3 other classification: by wavelength, by frequency, or by energy, which is necessary to retrieve significant information. And at the bottom for us shown what actually, which type of medical imaging modalities refer to this and depend to specific wavelength frequency of energy. When we have MRI refer to shortest wavelength, longest wavelength, and X-ray gamma imaging to the shortest wavelength, but more significant energy required to obtain some significant information. And major things with modern image modality, medical imaging, it's actually major goal is to convert that wavelength, which is not visible for our eyes, and turn into visible light to present for physician. And as to summarize kind of information we can retrieve from by using various medical imaging types, it's anatomical as well as functional metabolic images, and referred better methods for retrieve only anatomical or only functional metabolic image. But with application of modern imaging techniques, that results could be significantly improved, and we can get much more various information from both the sources. At this point, time to move into second question, which will be much more larger than first, and consider question about how to possible to perform acquisition of images and how we can start with basic analysis and processing, because even image visualization, it's sort of analysis when I'm talking about digital image visualization. So we need to identify components of conventional image processing analysis system, then understand what is digital image in nutshells, and review conventional methods to retrieving medical image, especially based on transitional imaging, and then pay attention for process of medical imaging analysis and processing. So it's actually main objective of lecture. Let's process with the first point of this question. So any general purpose biomedical image processing and image analysis system must have 3 basic components, which is depicted at the bottom of this slide. So it should be actually image acquisition system in general, which convert biomedical signal or radiation which carry information of interest to digital, to electrical signal. At first it would be correct, and then that kind of electrical signal could be digitized, and we can talk about representation of digital form, which could be visualized as digital image. Then actually digital computer unit, which is responsible for storage of that digital sequence, and if necessary, perform some converting, basic converting to just visualize it. And actually any display environment which allow for users, physician to see results of image acquisition and actually have representation of biomedical content. So if you refer to digital terminology, what is image in general, even continuous actual image. So we can see it if we talk about flat representation, which is most common, driving, painting, and so on. We can see image as two-dimensional signal along X and Y axis. So, and at each specific coordinate, at each specific X and Y value, we have continuous function, which represent for us some specific characteristics of this drawing, of this painting, even if we talk about reality. And this particular value of this function could be called pixel or picture element. So for real image, we're talking about continuous signal, continuous function. So because we can change X and Y with different scale, with different precise level, and so our function will be continuous for specific affinity X and Y value. And that characteristics could include, for example, number of colors at that given specific coordinates, or brightness, contrast, and so on. So our picture could be characterized by, for example, resolution, its number of that exact X and Y coordinates, which is useful for this specific image, and also by number of colors, like black and white, grayscale, and then full color, natural color, and so on, like 65,000 of color, billions of colors, 16 billions of colors, and so on. So there I'm talking about characteristics of that function f from Ix. And also how to introduce dynamical image or like movie or so. So we need only add the third coordinate, time coordinate, and then we will change our pictures or frames by time. So we got into dynamical image. Another approach, if we talk about volumetric image, in this case, we added the third coordinate will be Z and will represent depth of our scene, and we have multiply slices which will represent volumetric slices of our image. And okay, in this case, we can add even to create dynamic of three-dimensional scene, we need to introduce fourth coordinate T in this case. So how digital image being formatted? And here is we have example for conventional optical image, but principles will be very similar for other kind of transillumination image. In this specific case, a real scene element being illuminated by some kind of energy source. It will be natural sunlight, or it could be specific, for example, X-ray energy source or so. Then we have imaging system, like it could be set of optical lens, or it could be kind of electromagnetic fields which provide focusing of reflected or transilluminated energy which reflects from scene element or pass through scene element into internal imaging plane for some sensor which is responsible to hold results of our image formation. And as we talk about of digital image formation, so our real modern sensor built as array from multiply elementary sensor, and which each one of it responsible only for single one pixel of final digital image. So in this case, if we want to retrieve reliable information, we need a large array of sensor, and only in this case you will have something useful, something reliable, visible, after we will try to visualize our digital image. So here is we have example how continuous image being projected into array at left sides. We have reflection of continuous or transillumination, no matter, of continuous image being projected into array, but such as sensors of digital image device have their physical size. They are not they have some definitely some final minimal physical size, so it's obvious that continuous image not exactly fit each one sensor, and after digitizing, sensor will retrieve and generate specific electrical signals which will reflect level of illumination, level of will reflect number of energy which pass or does not pass to this specific pixel element. So at left side we have continuous image, at right side we have digitized representations, the representation of this continuous image, and here is it's shown for us why your diagnostic device must provide some necessary level of resolution, why it's important to have significant number of digital sensor into sensor array if you want to have final digital image with enough quality, but not things like this one where we have like set of square pixel with different level of gray. So if we summarize this, continuous image we can consider with given size m and n, m by n elements could be seen as matrix of continuous function at each of these elements. And when we convert it into digital format, we replace continuous signal because we have finite size of pixel. We replace that continuous signal, which could vary around pixel size, and we replace it with specific designated value for each one pixel. And here is important point why sometimes digital image called as matrix image, because when we digitize continuous image, we got into matrix of data, matrix of numbers which represents picture characteristics for each particular pixel. And here is again process how it could be seen in reality for analog image and left top corner, and we enlarge some part of it at left side at the bottom. We enlarge, magnify small part of it, it's B point small part of this image, and then we try to digitize it so you can see how that analog information fit with sensor array pixels, with sensor array elements which will form each one pixel of image, and then at right side of at top provide how digital equivalent of this analog signal will be created for each element. In this case, we have several pixels, And final results of this, only not full image, but only that small enlarged part shown at right side at the bottom. So actually any digital image, it's large matrix of pixels, and each matrix cell contain value which characterize single pixel. For case of grayscale, it could be characteristic single value, like gray level, level of gray color. In case of color image, typically we can talk not about single matrix, but like 3 or more matrix, which represent, for example, RGB components, red, green, blue components of each one pixel element, intensiveness of RGB components. Okay, after we understand what is digital image in general, so again, if I, sorry, I'm a bit too quick. Any image, no matter if we talk about medical image or even your, for example, each photo you take with camera of your smartphone, have representation as matrix, digital representation as matrix of pixel characteristics, where each cell, each pixel, it's provide characteristics of single picture element like colors and at least color. Okay, so what is principles now about transmission image, about principles of retrieving biomedical images. So principles of true transmission, which kind of electromagnetic radiation could be used for retrieving medical images, and then methodology, X-rays, computer tomography imaging, MRI, nuclear, optical, and related technologies. So basic principles of true transmission, it's the radiation generated when passed through the human body. So most time when we talk about medical images, we talk about not reflected light, but attenuated image. And on this conventional radiography base, it's computer tomography, also infrared, optical, microwave, and so on things. For sure, key points, it was achievements of Konrad Röntgen or his counterparts, because it's at that time multiply physicists worked at the same area, and even Ukrainian physicist Ivan Poluy works and got similar achievement, but William have fast got official patent for his achievement. So it's discovering of X-rays. So especially ISIN, we talk about discoveries they was available for million years, just humans don't know how to explore it and how to perform registration of X-ray scanning. That's not inventing, it's only discovering. And especially since that, in 1 year, it was be considered fast usage by the end of 19th century, when was considered fast usage of X-ray effect to get photos and find needle in hand. So it's actually become background of modern radiological science and medical radiology, and also it's like finally completely changed medical images at all. From the beginning, for sure, X-ray images was recorded by special film which is sensitive for X-ray radiation spectrum, but in modern time, film being replaced by digital sensor array, which again sensitive for this spectrum of radiation, for that defined wavelength and energy I shown several minutes before. And instead of film recording, we got natural digital born image instantly could be stored in computer system. So next step of development, next major breakthrough and achievement is invented of computer tomography. It's done through 1965 to 1962, but by two specialist computer expert and physicists, and they gained Nobel Prize in Medicine in 1979. So what is main objective? It's view from number of different angles and then perform cross-section of image for it can be computed processed. Major benefits, mostly used for visualization of anatomical structure, but with modern addition could be also applied for visualization soft tissue. I'm talking not about conventional axial tomography, computer axial tomography, but different modern modification. So in general, tomography, it's a graphical representation of cut or slice that implies the formation of two-dimensional cross-section image free of blurring from structures not in plane of interest or again tomograph. So computer tomography, it's formation of tomography X-ray absorption coefficient by method of reconstruction from recorded projection, multiply projection being recorded, and then we analyze all that data in order to analyze like X-ray absorption in order to reconstruct origin of that projection. So we have multiply meanings of tomography and computer tomography at all, but here is we will consider on the following. So here is we compare computer axial conventional computer tomography to conventional X-ray imaging. So when we use, again, we talk about usage of some physical principles, X-ray illumination of object. So in case of conventional X-ray, we get single projection. With computer tomography, its main idea is post-processing by computer system. So we are perform continuous illumination. An object could be rotated or pass through area of scanning, and we got at detectors we perform continuous scanning of detectors in order to retrieve number of information on the different angle position of object within scanning area, and then by processing with very complicated algorithm, which I will just provide overview in minutes, we can got like 90 degrees projection image, reconstructed image, which is represent 90-degree representation of that object being scanned at the bottom. So, and in another case, so we can in this visualization we can see how how X-ray energy beam pass through human body to reach detectors, and what actually bring to detectors that thin slice. And what we got with computer visualization, computer analysis, we got information like if you look into direction 90-degree perpendicular from that area of scanning. So actually, if we turn a little bit in mathematic and principles of processing of computer tomography image, it's really complicated things. So we can understand that each projection itself loses resolution of inner structure. And despite we are talking about now computer tomography, absolutely the same technological and information technology principles could be used for other kinds of tomography images like emission, MRI, and so on. So we talk about, in this case, different principles, absolutely different physical principles, but from information technology perspective, how that system explore same information approach, same mathematical and mathematical principles and computer algorithms. And here is again, before I will talk a little bit about mathematics, so I summarize these 3 steps, which is absolutely required in order to get computer images. So first of all, we need discover in physics. We need discovering of X-ray imaging, like end of 19th century. Then next step, we need some mathematical achievements in mathematics. And in this case, it was last thing that was necessary. It's Redon transformation, which spoke about like abstract principles of relationship between original elements and its projection between angular, polar, and conventional rectangular coordinate systems. So it's beginning of 20th century. It's despite it's like time of First World War, but here is we have this. And next step, development of digital computers and their extensive growth, which allow for us achieve some necessary amount of memory, which can hold significant part of digitized data, as well as computational power, which allow to implement very complex mathematical algorithms. And then computer science investigation about how possible to apply mathematical models, mathematical principles of Redon transformation as well as Fourier transformation to analyze of digitized medical image. And it was done in latest 1960s, and it's give for us development of computer tomography in 1962. So here is just quick overview of what is actually which mathematical way behind computer tomography. So here is, I must notify that I'm not a mathematician, and for me it's also very difficult to understand these things. But here is several points which is necessary to be used in order to get to be able to reconstruct computer tomography image. So first of all, it's so-called Redon transformation, that's Dolbeau integral, which provide establish relationship between original, like Cartesian coordinates and information gained in Cartesian coordinates with projection of each point of original source to their projection into polar coordinates, because we have in the first generation of tomograph, X-ray source and detectors turn around human body. In modern tomograph, we use like cone beams and scan array arcs, but still idea we have the same. We perform measure by different angles of attenuated energy. So here is that function g from s theta give for us information about projection. And so here is how it's look like, what means results of this transformation. And what do we get as result of Redon transformation? Actually, if you will apply it for left, for object at right, you will get something like at left. It's actually almost useless. Redon transformation here at Pantone by using 90 projection. We look into 90 times within different angles, scan this object, turn around with and made stoppage like each 4 degree. Actually, almost useless information, But it's necessary step. And to reconstruct, to recover inner structure from projection, we need invert radon transformation. So for sure, it's need as much possible more projection to be recorded to recover better structure. And here is shown how we can achieve this from each. We use 18, 66, 90 projection. So more projection we have, better results we will have. And in this case, we need also two-dimensional Fourier transformation to perform rotation and prove that it's rotationally invariant for our radon transformation. And here is given mathematical evidence why it's true. Actually, even for me, it's very difficult to understand this statement, but okay, so here is we have final result that it's equivalent to origin. And here is we have how we can turn around and how we can reconstruct our origin by using 1- and 2-dimensional Fourier transformation. So if we can prove that 1-dimensional Fourier transformation provide equivalent for our radon function, so 2-dimensional Fourier transformation will be equivalent for original f from xy function in polar coordinates for our and it should be equivalent for actually original object that has been used in this Stan building, and it's called projection theorem. And here is given projections-wise theorem, and here is given again mathematical confirmation why it's true. Again, I must not if you use it, it's not necessary to study all this. It's just example how vitally important mathematical achievement and mathematical transformation to get our information. And finally, if we turn it into some block diagram system, so here is what do we have in us if we provide us input our radon data series G from S theta, then for apply single radon transformation, Fourier transformation to get equivalent G capital, then we will use a full radon Fourier space and two-dimensional transformation to recover original f from y and x function, which will represent for us our more or less with some delta, as you can see, bottom line with some delta allowed kind of errors. We will have a constructed function which is fit our origin with minimal constant error. Here is actually how we can join all this together with use radon transformation and reverse it by double Fourier transformation. So we got this our original reconstructed image. So how we can achieve all of these points. So again, I want to say, and here is how it's work practically. We have a pair of squares, we have the representation in form of radon transformation after scanning, and when we perform reconstruction, depending to number of scan, depending to quality and characteristics of Fourier transformation, we got that things right. We got reconstructed image from computer tomography of our origin. So we are talking about extremely complicated analytical process, which is done by implementation of advanced mathematical methods through computer science, to computer algorithm by computer science technology. So, And finally, we got this. We got CT scans, and as you can see, how changed quality of images, even not up to now, because we are talking about end of 20th century. Right now, we have even better scanner with higher resolution, but even today, resolution about like 2 or 4 megapixel, it's defined for us like extremely high quality computer tomography system. Actually, it could sound maybe worldly compared to smartphone cameras, which could have 20 megapixel resolution. But yes, it's much more difficult to register attenuation of human body with significant changes of attenuation of X-ray radiation by human body. So in modern tomography, it doesn't have moving parts, and we have like on arc detectors, which eliminated by one or several X-ray sources, which is and just beam scan around body in multiple adjacent trajectories to generate X-rays. So we have like fraction of seconds to scan, in contrast to multiply minutes, several minutes. So how it's practically could work, and how we obtain image from modern generates of computer tomograph. So we have digital array sensor, which inform a half of arc, and we have target ring and some deflecting coil, which send electron beam into particular position of target ring. So, and we register multiply images at different angles. Actually, it's extension of this, so we talk about single scan, but modern computer tomography provide continuous scanning, and they are sometimes called spiral helical computer tomographs. So projection acquisition trace out spiral trajectory rather than sequence of parallel flat projection. And in this case, we have ability to retrieve continuous information, and through even advanced analysis, we got ability to provide three-dimensional visualization. So here is, for sure, unfortunately, I doesn't have three-dimensional display to provide proof of it, and I think you also doesn't have this. So anyway, as a result of reconstruction of volume spiral scanning, we have ability to retrieve mathematical model of three-dimensional objects and visualize it as pseudo three-dimensional structures. Why I'm talking just about pseudo three-dimensional structures? Because we use flat screen. So they are true three-dimensional only inside computer memory. Then to visualize it for us, we use projection onto flat screen of computer monitor. Or we can use it like perform further analysis and even additional algorithms to select specific part of image, made some cut or filtering of image to visualize only particular structure which is interesting for us, in our case like vessels or bones, or like combine it and perform some subtraction of a specific area. Again, we are talking about completely computer simulated of image. It's not original image. It's actually per computer graphic based on data which is retrieved from computer tomography, from X-ray scanning. As I mentioned before, similar principles could be used for other physical principles of image analysis, and In 1952 was discovered physical principles of magnetic resonance imaging, when hydrogen nuclei under strong magnetic field spin in phase with another and align with the field. So relaxed proton induced measurable radio signals, and we can register it. So here is 1952, not a tomograph being invented, but only physical principles discovered. And much later, since computational tomography were already in practical usage since 1972, similar information technologies principles, similar data transformation has been used for MRI imaging, and we got MRI tomography again. So there we talk about how long sometimes time for, not in information technology, but in chemistry. Okay, and we have MRI. So what is fine in MRI scan? That it's very good for soft tissues, and very often used for like analysis in neurology, to searching for some dysfunction in brains, nerves, and so on. So here is shown different additional approach modalities under MRI. So when we could use it for angiography, for visualization of vessels, for spectroscopy, chemistry in brain muscular metabolism, for visualization of how brain functionality with fMRI, and so on. So we have multiple practical solution under general techniques. For example, image retrieved with MRI angiography. Within nuclear medicine, image distribution of radioisotope, which is distributed within body, preferable to specific organ structure of interest. So it's provide direct representation of metabolism of function in organ or structure by an imaging. And common approach, single proton emission tomography, SPECT, and positron emission tomography. So again, we are talking about some kind of different in principles, but post-processing, image analysis, image visualization, so digital signals processing will be done in almost exactly the same way as it's with computer tomography. So here is principles how possible to detect radiation from emission of positrons, and work has been done at the end of 20th century. It's relatively new technologies and very useful, for example, to visualize density of bonds. I assign density of bonds especially. So, and abnormalities here in densities. So image of obtained by positron emission tomography. And with development of computer data processing techniques, we developed more powerful computer with large amount of memory and fast CPU. It was become possible to combine different digital images. So it's actually possible to, here is example how we can combine positron emission tomography with MRI. It's again, actually, we talk about very complicated process of adjusting different images with different resolution, color characteristics, and so on. But if we have both as digital matrix and origin every time as digital matrix, so it could be scaled and combined all together. Another physical principles lie under ultrasound imaging. It's propagated into patient from transducer placed on skin and backscattered echo signals recorded, starting at 1979 and up to modern. So here is how structure of conventional ultrasound system look like. And how, so again, we are interested in that right bottom corner when computer image processing unit and display unit, which implement methodologies to visualize two-dimensional as well as 3- and 4-dimensional, even dynamical 3-dimensional ultrasound objects. So again, it was necessary Dozens of years since original computer tomography imaging methods being developed to apply it to ultrasound image, do a much greatest data stream which is available in ultrasound imaging. So we are talking about ultrasound. So how many about high frequency and a huge amount of data which must be recorded and processed with each second by ultrasound system to visualize it. So it was much more difficult to digitize ultrasound images in contrast to, for example, X-ray images. Okay, now back from physics to image processing, etc. Even at the first step, at acquisition, I present huge mathematical methods as well as computer science method necessary to just convert analog signals into digital representation, just convert sequence of digital data which stream from CT scan sensor into memory to just keep it as something useful. Now into processing, like automatical, not only visualization, but automatical data processing of medical image. So here is we talk about pre-segmentation, detection, analysis, and even, if possible, automatic diagnosis. So that scheme could be extended in something like this one. I even prefer this approach. When we talk about formation, acquisition, and digitalization of image, it's actually formation. Then we talk about basic enhancement, which must be done by any diagnostic medical image diagnostic system, like calibrating, optimizing, transformation, filtering. So it's all these things around like improve brightness, contrast, and so on. And then return into 3 direction with just visualization, just display data, surface reconstructions, illumination, shading, visualization. So it's common steps useful if you want to reconstruct, for example, 3-dimensional image due after computer tomography or after even ultrasound scanning. If you just want to visualize 3-dimensional structure, you pass through these steps. And actually it's very similar steps, which is maybe you have heard this from, for example, terminology of computer games, because it's exactly the same principles. Based off digital matrix, we try to reconstruct surface, illuminate them, apply shades, and then perform projection to flat computer screen, and we got flat image of 3-dimensional scene. Right side, in contrast, give for us ability to manage, to perform continuous management of this data. So it's not only important to display our data, it's important to preserve it and reuse or share, for example, with other facilities, send to other physicians under different facilities. So we must be able to store our digital image in proper format, perform maybe archive it before compress it, also provide enough security protection because it's sensitive personal data and so on. And what is most important in the center, it's this branch represent approach to automatical data processing, like identification of different patterns, identification of organs in normal states, identification of possible pathologies. So all this, it's feature extraction, segmentation, classification about normality, abnormality, and also it's give for us ability to automatically interpretation of data, like perform automatic management, measuring, or provide some conclusion about presence of some artifacts in. So before it, I'm speaking about like top part of this image, top half of this image, left and right side, and left side. Now we turn into like central area, and third part of lecture will represent a little bit information about right side. So as usually, if we back to first question, such as each digital image and digital medical image, it's matrix of data. So any operations that we want, it will be operation of perform any transformation of our image. It will be operation based on application of matrix algebra operation. So again, I am talking about we all done, for example, in case of computer tomography images, two-dimensional or three-dimensional, we already done with Radon and Fourier transformation. We already retrieve matrix of two-dimensional slices, CT scan slices, or we have sequence of matrix which form for us three-dimensional scan. Okay, so here is, if you want to perform density scale, rotation, shearing XY, any other transmission, it will be every time matrix operation. So again, matrix algebra, it's essential to work with medical images. And typical operation of processing medical images, like filtering, denoising, registration, and enhancement. It's basic operation. So, for example, we can, when we perform gray level filtering, we can turn from full scale to 156 gray color to black and white at right bottom corner. Major algorithms for pre-processing, median, mean field, violet denoising, based image, and so on. For example, if you talk about their filtering, it's each pixel, output pixel depend of input and all around by some specific function. So each output to calculate, we take into account characteristics of neighborhood pixels around origin. And here is we have like mean, Laplacian, or non-linear filtration has been implemented. So three functions at the bottom of this slide represent deep mathematical algorithms for different filters, and they has been applied for each pixel on our digital image, for each automatically. Actually, if you perform some kind of enhancement of your photo that you, for your selfie that you made with your phone, you are apply filters just without direct mathematical skill, just by some visual controls. And also possible in medical image processing, analysis processing too. For example, lots of special solution or like if you talk about software which is supplied with any real medical equipment, ultrasound or CT scans, definitely they provide automatically application of necessary filters or visual tool to do it. But also we have common application, like here is example ImageJ, which you will have, which you work with this application on practical classes, topic 3 and 4. Topic 3 you will work with ImageJ. And here is just menu command. So you need only load image, apply specific menu command like smooth or filter median, and you will get necessary result. Just it's significantly to understand which of this operation will provide which kind of result. And here is also different kind of filtering using, for example, to analyze mammography images, like adaptive constant enhancement algorithm for filtering or equalizing histogram equalization method. So again, we could identify specific objects. Segmentation. Exactly the limit objects once they are detected, and could be used for like identify organs, tissues at images like vessels, liver, and so on, brain, part of brain, and so on. And here is example of segmentation task you will do with Mavis Lab and on the topic 2. So here is one to identify. You will need to identify borders in human brain for different kind of tissues. And here is example of filters that could be built by using building blocks of this application. Again, visual tool which allow for you to visualize process of image analysis and avoid direct usage of mathematical algorithms. But in contrast, still you will need to understand what this block do. They are of course described in this documentation for this application, but for sure it will need some studying to understand it, and also need understanding principles of how you want to achieve your results. Okay, there enlisted conventional mathematical segmentation algorithm, Cummings, fuzzy neural networks, shake, threshold-based, and so on. If you need details, just you can take Googling on this and you will see mathematics behind all of it. Practically we got, so all these images I already shown for you early, it's results of automatic segmentation. So all this. What do we have? So detection. It's find location of object index without prior knowledge about location existence. In contrast to segmentation, where we know about something must exist. With detection, we are looking for artifacts, possible artifacts, like bonus cracks, polypin colons, and so on. So here is example how it could be used for identification noun object or as well artifacts. Works fine when we combine different type of medical image. For example, combine again CT scan with positron emission tomography, and here is possible to identify some kind of abnormalities in chest. Similar way, combination of MRI, positron emission tomography could allow to identify some brain disorders. And here is for diabetic retinopathy, ultrasound image, ultrasound scan could be used. And to finalize with this example, I move to paradigm of image processing. So for sure this chart obtained from not from Ukraine, it's from high developed countries representation. So they consider past of image processing like a completely solved problem, kinds of information of digital image, pixel data manipulation, so it's exactly about creating different tomograms and so on, visualization of it, and the information management, so creating digital archives of medical image. Currently under active development and practical implementation as well, it's process related to formation of functional images, registration multimodal image, segmentation, mathematical classification and management. And future, which is already in scientific research, it's creating multidimensional images, multimodal images, computer-aided diagnostic, and up to computer-aided treatment or computer-aided, for example, surgery or so. So we provide fully automatical processing of image, which involve multiple steps of registration, segmentation, classification, and could give us ability to automatically create diagnosis, treatment plan with expert system or clinical decision support system, and supply this information for automatic computer surgery modules. Okay, now it's time to get into third question of lecture, picture archiving communication system and a standard for medical image exchanging, DCOM. So in general, picture archiving communication system, it's computer network dedicated to storage, retrieval, distribution and presentation of image. And DCOM is most common from international format for medical image storage, digital imaging communication in medicine. Main aim of PACS, it's replacement of hard copy basic means of managing medical images such as film archives. So it's give for us additional, it's give extremely valuable importance for example, distance education, for usage of such data into medical processes and so on. So it's critically important to have archive of digital images, reliable archive of digital images, and ability to exchange that kind of medical data. And so here is that reason we are talking about single point of access for images and associated data, and also interface with other medical information system like hospital information system, EMR system, electronic medical records, and so on. So as of about architecture of PACS, it could be very tightly depend for vendor or manufacturer or even facilities that we want to use. Practically, even again, diagnostical equipment very often separate altogether with basic PACS. So if your ultrasound machine allowed to preserve images in computer hard drive, and it's all modern allowed to do it, definitely we talk about basic PACS features. Definitely any modern computer tomograph contain built-in PACS system which allow to create, support, maintain digital archive. But major major significant characteristics of PACS, it's that they are dedicated not to serve information, not to keep information which is served from single source, but from multiply. So it means our medical imaging equipment in hospital connected to PACS, and our medical images stored within some centralized storage. Which techniques could be used? That we talk about central server and clustering distributed system with or without web-based access. Okay, all these things could be. It's only essential characteristics of specific solution, which again depend to vendor. Major question, major point, it's what is different PACS from single device system. That's PACS could be used to retrieve information from multiple sources and store it in uniform format, typically as DCOM images, and provide centralization access or even processing. And also interaction with other systems like radiology information system, hospital information system, and so on, TROG, DCOM network, because DCOM as standard depict not only data format but transmission protocol and other specific medical networks like HL7 based. And here is what various network would be connected to DCOM network and will be components of PACS system. Practically interface could look like absolutely different. So here's, even if it's a little bit outdated, it's no matter. So we have something like clear PACS at the bottom, or we have essential PACS built into hospital information system when you ability to review images. More about PACS, I will talk on one of the further lectures, I think in spring semester, when I will talk about medical information system. I will back to PACS. So a few words about what is DCOM, Digital Imaging Communication Medicine, standard for handling, storing, printing, and transmitting information in medical image, and included two components: file format definition, network communication protocol definition. So as of regarding communication protocol, it's an application protocol that uses work at application level above basic TCP/IP and allow to communicate between systems. So DCOM files can be exchanged between two entities that are capable for receiving image and patient data in DCOM format. So DCOM developed and now supported by National Electrical Manufacturers Association, NEMA, in United States. They hold copyright and maintain standard at current time, and enable integration of scanners, server workstation, printers, network hardware from multiple manufacturers into PACS. And different devices come with DCOM confidence statements, which clearly state the DCOM classes they are support. So DCOM differs from other data format. It groups information into data sets. It means that file of X-ray of chest, for example, actually contain not only image data itself, it's not only like JPEG or so, but also contain various, should contain definitely, because in reality it's not every time yet proper observed, but should contain information about patient identification within file, and also even additional attributes about which provide information about equipment, facility, even maybe a physician and technicians who was responsible for obtaining this medical image. So here we talk about number of attributes like such name, ID, also, and special attributes which contain image pixel data. So we have like several areas within DCOM data format, several data set. One of these is image itself, but other contain additional information. And if necessary, it's possible even available solutions which will integrate non-DCOM even outdated imaging systems into DCOM network through different gates and bridges which allow to convert digitized data into DCOM packages. And available lots of practical and even free DCOM viewers which allow to visualize DCOM data. Both applications I mentioned before, ImageJ, MavisLab, also fully support DCOM and work with it. So actually that's all points I want to present for you in this lecture. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye, and please prepare for topic 2 and 3, because that's different difficult practical tasks. Thanks you for your attention again.